In an extraordinary and completely unexpected encounter, President Ibrahim Traoré found himself face to face with Hollywood legend Tyler Perry, and a single, deeply heartfelt statement would soon leave the entire room in stunned silence. No night. For his emotional storytelling and unshakable strength, Perry couldn't hold back the tears after hearing Traoré's words, sparking a wave of global admiration and emotion. This is the kind of moment that makes the world pause and reminds us what genuine leadership and human connection truly look like. The news came like a bolt from the blue. Tyler Perry, one of the most influential filmmakers of our time, had quietly arrived in Ouagadougou, the capital of Burkina Faso. No cameras, no media entourage, just a man seeking a private audience. President Traoré was in the middle of a long, routine day when his aide leaned in with the surprising message, "Mr. President, Tyler Perry is here to see you." For a moment, Traoré thought it had to be a joke. What could possibly bring a Hollywood icon all the way to a small West African nation in the middle of the week? But the moment Tyler Perry walked in, tall, composed, with eyes radiating a quiet seriousness, it became instantly clear this was no ordinary visit. This wasn't about publicity or performance. It was something far deeper. They shook hands, and for a long, weighty moment, neither spoke. The air felt heavy, the kind of silence that tightens your chest even when you can't explain why. Then Tyler finally broke it. "Mr. President, I came here because I needed to hear the truth from you." Instantly, the room held its breath. The staff froze. Something profoundly important was about to unfold. They sat across from each other in that quiet, intimate room, far from the glare of cameras or the hum of microphones, the faint aroma of fresh tea lingering around them. President Traoré leaned forward, his expression raw and unguarded. No political mask, no rehearsed smile, just a man ready to speak from the heart. "Only honesty," President Traoré said softly. "Mr. Perry, what truth are you searching for?" Tyler's eyes glistened, a mix of vulnerability and urgency shining through. "I've spent my life telling stories about struggle and hope," he admitted. "But lately, I feel the world is losing hope. I need to know, how do you keep fighting when everything seems stacked against you?" The president drew a deep breath, as if the question had reached straight into his soul. For a long moment, he stared out the window, the weight of his people's lives reflected in his gaze. Then he spoke, steady but filled with fire. "Hope is not something given. It is something we protect. In my country, people wake each day with little more than faith. I carry their hope like a flame in my chest because if I let it die, they will be left in darkness." Tyler's lips trembled, a silent acknowledgement of the truth he had just witnessed. He nodded, hands clasped tightly, as if trying to hold on to every word. The room grew so still that even the ticking clock on the wall seemed to pause. Then Traoré leaned in slightly, his voice barely above a whisper, but each word resonated like a drum in every heart present. "Tyler," he said, "the real strength of a leader is not in power or titles. It is in carrying the pain of others and still finding the courage to smile for them. If my people cry at night, then I have no right to sleep in peace." The words struck like a bolt of lightning. Tyler Perry's eyes glistened, tears spilling over as he pressed a hand to his face, trying and failing to hold back the flood of emotion. The silence that followed was heavy, almost sacred, filled with the unspoken weight of what had just been shared. A silence hung in the room, heavy with truth, sorrow, and an almost unbearable beauty. One of the aides shifted, clearly moved, while another discreetly wiped away a tear. No one had anticipated this meeting would cut so deeply. Tyler finally lowered his hands, tears streaking his face. "Mr. President," he whispered, his voice trembling, "you just changed the way I see the world." In that quiet, powerful moment, the seeds of a story that would soon touch millions had been planted. The next morning, Tyler Perry joined President Traoré on a visit to a local community center in Ouagadougou. Children's laughter rang out in the courtyard, bright and infectious, masking the daily struggles they face. As they walked among the kids, one little boy gently tugged on Traoré's jacket. "Mr. President, he said softly. Will you always stay with us? The little boy asked. Traoré knelt down, meeting the child's gaze with gentle seriousness. As long as I live, he replied softly. I will never leave you. Tyler watched in silence, his chest tightening as the depth of the moment sank in. Later, in a quiet corner away from the children, he asked, Mr. President, don't you ever feel like giving up? The weight must be unbearable. Traoré offered a faint, weary smile, though his eyes betrayed the profound pain he carried. Sacrifice is the price of love, he said. If a father abandons his children because life is hard, then what kind of father is he? My people are my children. I stay, no matter how heavy the burden becomes. Tyler had no words. He simply placed his hand over his heart, feeling the weight of what he had witnessed. That night, unable to sleep, he wandered to the balcony of the guest house where he was staying. To his surprise, he saw Traoré alone in the courtyard below, pacing slowly under the dim glow of a lone lantern. Tyler quietly descended the steps. You don't sleep much, do you? He asked softly. Traoré offered a tired, knowing smile. How could I? He replied. When I know mothers are praying their children make it through the night with food in their stomachs. The raw honesty pierced Tyler's heart. He had spent a lifetime telling stories of struggle and triumph on screen, but here stood a man living that reality every single day. Mr. President, Tyler whispered, his voice trembling, the world needs to hear this. Traoré shook his head gently, the weight of his responsibility reflected in his eyes. The world doesn't need to hear me, Traoré said firmly. They need to see my people rise, and if I must remain invisible for that to happen, then so be it. For the first time, Tyler felt tears burning in his own eyes again. This wasn't politics. It was humanity in its rawest, purest form. The next morning, Tyler joined Traoré in meeting a group of widows, women who had lost their husbands in the country's struggles. Their voices were soft, yet each word carried the weight of mountains. One woman, clutching her baby to her chest, looked at Traoré with trembling lips. Mr. President, she asked quietly, how do we keep believing? Traoré reached gently for her hand, his own eyes glistening as he answered, because if you stop believing, then all their sacrifices are in vain if we forget them, Traoré continued, his voice steady but filled with feeling. We carry their memory, not by weeping alone, but by building the future they dreamed of. The room fell silent. Tyler turned his head, but not quickly enough to hide the tear slipping down his cheek. No cameras captured the moment, no journalists reported it, yet for everyone present, it was unforgettable. Tyler whispered to himself, this is what leadership looks like. And for the first time, he truly understood that the world was about to witness something extraordinary. On the fourth day of his visit, President Traoré suggested a walk through a local market. No grand security convoy, no fanfare, just a leader moving among his people. Vendors called out cheerful greetings, children waved with shy smiles, and elderly women offered blessings as he passed, each interaction a quiet testament to the bond between a leader and his people. Tyler was struck by how the people looked at Traoré, not with fear, but with genuine love and respect. At one market stall, an elderly man offered him a small basket of mangoes. Mr. President, take this. It's not much, but it comes from my heart. Traoré accepted it with both hands, bowing slightly. Your gift is more valuable than gold, he said softly, because it comes from sacrifice. Tyler watched the exchange, his throat tightening. Later, he leaned closer and whispered, do you realize how rare it is to be loved like this by your people? Traoré smiled gently, his eyes reflecting both pride and responsibility. It is not love for me, Tyler, he said. It is love for the hope I carry. If I ever betray that hope, their love will turn to sorrow. The words struck Tyler deeply, a stark reminder of how fragile true leadership can be. That evening, Traoré invited him to a gathering of university students. The room buzzed with energy, filled with eager faces, each carrying questions about their future. One young woman stood, her voice trembling. "Mr. President, we want to believe in tomorrow, but sometimes it feels like tomorrow will never come. What do you say to us?" Traoré paused, scanning the room as if each face bore the weight of destiny. "Tomorrow is not given," he said softly. "It is built, and it will not be built by someone else. It will be built by you. If you wait for the world to save you, you will wait forever. But if you stand together, no one can stop you." The room fell silent. Tyler, sitting at the back, felt the weight of those words press into his chest, a mixture of awe and inspiration coursing through him. Tyler felt a tear roll down his cheek. He could see it, the fire in the eyes of those young people suddenly burning brighter, ignited by Traoré's words. Afterward, he whispered to Traoré, "Do you realize you're planting hope in places where it was almost gone?" Traoré simply nodded, his face calm, but his heart heavy with the weight of responsibility. On the 5th day, Tyler accompanied Traoré to a small rural village where families had gathered under a sprawling tree. There was no ceremony, no fanfare, just the simple, quiet presence of the community, accompanied by soft songs of welcome. As Traoré spoke with the villagers, Tyler noticed a grandmother quietly holding his hand. She didn't speak, only kept her head bowed. Curious, he leaned closer and asked softly, "What are you saying?" She offered a weak, gentle smile. "I'm praying for him," she whispered. "Leaders carry heavy burdens." "I asked God to give him strength so he never falls," the grandmother had said. Later, when Tyler repeated this to Traoré, the president's eyes filled with tears. He tried to hide them, but Tyler saw. "This," Traoré whispered, "is why I cannot fail. Because their prayers are holding me up. If I fall, their hope falls with me." The weight of that truth pressed heavily on Tyler's chest. He realized this was no longer about politics or power. It was a man carrying the soul of a nation on his shoulders. For Tyler, the world would never look the same again. On the 6th day, as the sun dipped low over Ouagadougou, Traoré invited Tyler to his private office. The room was simple, its walls lined with books instead of gold frames. On the desk lay a folded piece of paper. Traoré picked it up gently and handed it to Tyler. "This was written by a soldier who never returned from the front," Traoré said softly. Tyler unfolded the letter. The handwriting was shaky but clear. "If I do not come back, tell my wife I fought so our children could one day laugh without fear. Tell my president not to give up, because if he does, our sacrifice means nothing." By the time Tyler finished reading, tears blurred his vision. He looked at Traoré, whose jaw was tight, though his eyes glistened. "I keep this letter with me," Traoré whispered. "It reminds me that I don't have the right to quit." Tyler laid the letter back down, unable to speak. The silence in that room carried a weight heavier than any words. That evening, the two men attended a candlelight vigil in honor of those lost in recent struggles, the flickering flames reflecting the courage, grief, and hope that bound them all together. Hundreds had gathered, holding candles that flickered against the night sky. A young girl, no more than 10, approached Traoré with trembling hands. She handed him a candle and whispered, "Please don't let my papa's dream die." Traoré knelt down, placing his large hand gently over hers. "I promise you, little one, his dream will live in all of us." Tyler felt his heart shatter. The child's innocent eyes carried more weight than any scene he had ever written. As the crowd began to sing softly, he realized the candles were more than light. They were a silent cry for hope. Unable to hold back, Tyler wept openly, tears falling into the dust. He didn't care who saw. Traoré placed a steady hand on his shoulder and whispered, grounding him in the quiet strength of the moment, "Sometimes tears are the strongest prayers." The crowd's song swelled louder, and for a fleeting moment, everyone felt the bond of shared pain and shared hope. Later that night, Tyler sat across from Traoré in a quiet courtyard, lit only by the soft glow of lanterns. The weight of everything, he had witnessed pressed down on him. "Mr. President," Tyler finally said, his voice trembling, "how do you live with all this? The prayers, the letters, the tears. How do you keep from breaking?" Traoré leaned back, his gaze fixed on the star-filled sky. "Tyler," he said slowly, "a leader doesn't escape the weight. He carries it, not because he is stronger, but because he refuses to let his people carry it alone." Then, in words that pierced straight into Tyler's heart, he added something that would stay with him forever. "If one day the world remembers my name, I don't want it to be because I was powerful. I want it to be because when my people cried, I chose to cry with them." Tyler's chest ached. Tears spilled again, unstoppable. In that profound silence, he realized he had just heard words that could change the world. By the 7th morning, Tyler Perry could no longer keep what he had witnessed to himself. With Traoré's quiet permission, he shared a short message online. "I have seen leadership that doesn't wear crowns, but carries tears. Ibrahim Traoré has shown me what it means to truly serve. The world needs to hear this." Within hours, the post went viral. Millions watched clips of the vigil, the market walk, and photos of Traoré holding children in his arms, hearts touched by a leader whose strength was measured not in power, but in shared humanity. Comments poured in. "This is what the world has been waiting for. Finally, a leader who feels our pain. I cried watching this. God bless him." Yet amidst the praise, Traoré remained calm. Sitting beside Tyler, he whispered, "It is not me they admire. It is the truth they've been starving for." Tyler studied him in awe. Most men would bask in glory, but Traoré's only concern was his people. And as the world's eyes turned to Burkina Faso, Tyler realized this was no longer just a private visit. It was the spark of a movement. That afternoon, Traoré and Tyler visited a small hospital where families struggled to afford even basic medicine, and the weight of leadership's responsibility became tangible once more. As they walked through the crowded hallways, a woman suddenly fell to her knees before the president, clutching his hands. "Mr. President," she sobbed, "please don't forget us. My son is sick. We have nothing left." The room froze. Nurses, patients, and visitors all watched in stunned silence. Traoré knelt beside her, tears welling in his own eyes. "You are not forgotten," he said softly. "If I must go without food so your son eats, I will. This is my vow to you." The woman wept uncontrollably, holding his hand as if it were her last hope. Tyler, standing nearby, had to turn away, his chest heaving with emotion. He had scripted countless powerful scenes before, yet nothing had ever captured the raw intensity of human connection like this. Later, Tyler whispered, "Do you realize the whole world would weep if they saw what I just saw?" Traoré simply replied, "If the world must weep, let it be with us, not for us." That evening, Tyler and Traoré sat with a small circle of elders under the open sky. The conversation was gentle, filled with wisdom passed down through generations. Suddenly, one elder turned to Traoré and asked, "When history writes your name, what do you want it to say?" The president paused, then looked at Tyler. His words came slowly, yet with a force that silenced the night. "I want history to say, here was a man who never turned away when his people cried, a man who carried their pain even when it broke his heart." Tyler's eyes filled instantly. He covered his face with his hands, unable to control the sobs that shook him. The elders sat quietly, tears streaming down their cheeks. In that moment, Tyler knew he had witnessed something the world would never forget. The next day, his emotional testimony would be broadcast, and hearts across the globe would break and heal at the same time. On the morning of the 7th day, Tyler Perry finally agreed to share his heart with the world. With Traoré's blessing, cameras were set up in a simple room. No lavish backdrop, no grand production, just honesty. As the recording began, Tyler's voice broke almost immediately. "I came here expecting to meet a president, But what I found was a father to a nation, a man carrying the cries of his people as if they were his own children. He paused, wiping his tears, then continued, I have seen leaders speak about power, but I have never seen a leader whisper hope into a child's heart. The world needs to hear this. Ibrahim Traoré is not just leading, he is loving. The video spread like wildfire. Within hours, millions were watching. Hashtags filled social media. People in different countries lit candles, sharing their own. Prayers for Burkina Faso. Traoré, however, remained humble. Looking out his window at the crowds gathering in support, he whispered to Tyler, This is not about me. It is about the awakening of humanity. On Tyler's last evening in Burkina Faso, he and Traoré walked quietly through the presidential garden. The air was calm yet heavy with the knowledge that their week together was ending. Tyler stopped, struggling, to speak through the lump in his throat. Mr. President, I don't want to leave. I feel like my heart is tied to this place now. Traoré placed a hand firmly on his shoulder. Then carry us with you. Tell the world not just about me, but about my people, their courage, their faith, their tears, and their dreams. Tyler nodded, tears streaming freely. I promise you the world will know. I won't let their voices be silenced. The two men embraced, not as celebrity and president, but as brothers who had shared a truth deeper than politics. That night, Tyler wrote a message. On his flight back, I came for answers. I leave with a mission to remind the world that true leadership is not power. It is love. The world waited for what would come next. The next day, Tyler's video and words reached every corner of the globe. News channels replayed his testimony, and millions shared the clips of Traoré's heartfelt moments. In schools, teachers played the video for children. In churches and mosques, prayers were said for Burkina Faso. Social media flooded with comments. I cried watching this. This is the kind of leader the world needs. Hope is alive again. In Ouagadougou, thousands gathered outside the presidential palace, holding candles and singing softly, echoing the vigil from days before. Traoré stepped onto the balcony, not to give a speech, but simply to stand with his people, hand over his heart. Tyler, watching from the U.S., wept as he saw the images flood in. He whispered, The world has seen. The world will never forget. And for once, humanity was united by something stronger than politics, by truth, love, and the tears of a leader who chose to carry his people's pain as his own. Dear friends watching this video, if this story touched your heart, if you felt the tears and the hope inside it, then don't just keep it to yourself. Hit the like button so more people can feel this moment. Subscribe to my channel so you never miss powerful stories like this one. And most importantly, leave a comment below. Tell me how this story touched you. Your words matter.